But we start out this morning by going to Lansing. And, I have not been a big fan of some of the things going on in Lansing. The presumed powers undertaken by our Attorney General have been baffling, for one. And then number two, the governor in the budget battle decided that she was going to do something totally different. So she created what amounted to a fourth branch of government to decide what would be spent in the budget and where. And that was after the legislature had presented her the budget, as it's constitutionally bound to do. So they sent her the budget. She started ripping it apart. She said it was a crisis and all of this. Well, guess what? Now the legislature is speaking up. Ken Horn, the senator from Frankenmuth, Michigan's 32nd district, has written an opinion piece in the Detroit News about this, and he warns that what's happened here is we don't anymore have the executive, the legislative, and judicial branches solely as the three parts of our government in Michigan. We now have a fourth branch of government called the State Administrative Board, and that's what the governor used to make her decisions on the budget. Senator Horn, good morning. Nice to have you back with us, sir.
Well, it's great to be back with you, Frank.
Sorry for that rather long-winded intro, but I wanted to get all the details in. I think I got them all right.
Yeah, the State Administrative Board is kind of a confusing piece of legislation that was put into place in 1921. It's made up of the governor, the attorney general, the state treasurer, state school superintendent, the Department of Transportation director. These are bureaucrats not elected to work with a budget that are setting the budget. And in early October, they moved around $625 million of your money without your permission and without oversight.
Well, exactly, because you're talking about positions that were appointed and not elected, and that's what the legislature is there for, unless I'm wrong about our Constitution.
No, you're absolutely right. And the governor is holding on to this because she wants to maintain this power. She sees it as a balance of power between Democrats and Republicans. What we see as a legislature is not a partisan issue. It's a balance of power between co-equal branches of government, the legislature and the executive branch. And the governor, with this action, put her thumb on the scale of the balance of power in favor of a bureaucracy. The director of the Department of Transportation, as you remember, told us that 80 cents a gallon tax is probably more in the ballpark of what we really need over the 45-cent gas tax, which is what all of these actions are designed to bring us back to this 45-cent gas tax table. And this director who wants 80 cents a gallon is one of the people voting on his own budget. It's not a good thing for Michigan, for certain.
Yeah, and that's not a direct cut at Paula Jaba, the man who runs that department, but it's a cut at the process that you're making. You're saying this is not right. This is not the way our Constitution established our government. There should not be this fourth branch that has people who were appointed to their jobs making all these important decisions that are seemingly reserved for those elected officials that we have.
Frank, when I'm done with this Senate term, I'll have been in elected office for 30 years, including local government. I've always been of the opinion that we tackle issues, not people. The governor is duly elected, and she has her role. Nothing that she did is illegal or unconstitutional. I'm just saying that it's wrong. The people that she's appointed, they're good people. They're perfectly qualified, and they're doing their jobs. But in this particular case, with the State Administrative Board, they shouldn't be making decisions without the people's oversight. And that's what the legislature is designed to do precisely as we do our constitutional duty. That was part of our problem in late September. Remember, 10 days before our constitutional deadline for the budget, the governor literally got up off the table, walked away from negotiations, and then complained that she wasn't part of the negotiations, and then just claimed it was a mess. And honestly, the board is designed to be part of, because three of these people, four if you include the lieutenant governor, are appointed by the governor. And what are they going to do? Say no to her? And one of the confusing things about the governor's office and negotiating is that I personally haven't figured out who she surrounds herself with. Not one person, this is referring more to the vetoes, not one person in her circle of trust told her, honestly, Governor, cutting autism, cutting road patrol funding, cutting veteran services are not a good idea. You shouldn't be doing this. But if she surrounds herself with yes people, and this is who's appointed to the state administrative board, then it causes a series of problems down the road.
All right, very quickly in closing, Senator Horn, can the legislature do anything to limit the powers of the administrative board or to end its existence?
Only with an agreement from the governor, and she's not giving up powers. But the board has to relinquish its power. And so Shane Hernandez, in the House, Representative Hernandez, has a bill that would limit moving money around to $200,000 or 3% of a budget, whichever is lower. I would add to that simply that it cannot be done unless the legislature cannot meet in session, including an emergency session called for by the governor.
So it's either that or we rewrite all the social studies books here in Michigan for the kids. Senator,
that's right.
Thanks so much for bringing this to our attention, and we're happy to talk with you again. Nice to have you with us.
Anytime, Frank.
Senator Ken Horn of Frankenmuth here on the Frank Beckmann Show.